All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something I think a lot of us know all too well, the unique pressures of the weekend relationship. You know the deal, 5 days apart, 2 days together. We're going to break down a really powerful new blueprint for turning that limited time from something stressful into something that's actually a deep, grounded connection.
So let's just start with a question that might hit a little too close to home. You spend all week, right? You're just waiting for Friday. But when it finally arrives, does it feel like someone just fired a starting pistol? Like a stopwatch has been started? That feeling? That intense pressure to make every single second count? That is the absolute heart of the problem we're going to tackle.
And you know this pressure? It shows up in some really common ways, like this feeling of disorientation. It's like you're just stepping into someone else's life for a hot second. You're not really living there. You're not exactly a guest. You're just a visitor. And you have to kind of find your footing all over again every single time.
And then there's let's be real, the brutal reality of just being plain tired. The fantasy, right? The fantasy is this weekend packed with amazing, romantic things, deep connection. But that just smashes head on into the reality of a 5-day work week. Your brain might be saying, yes, connect, but your body is just screaming, please, can we just rest? And that creates this really frustrating tug of war inside.
And underneath all of this is the constant tick-tock of the clock. It's always there, in the back of your head. Those 48 hours, just poof, they evaporate. And before you even know it, you're packing your bag again. This whole cycle, it creates this low-level hum of anxiety that just sabotages the very thing you're trying so hard to create, quality time. Okay, but what if we're looking at this all wrong? What if the problem isn't the number of hours? What if the real issue is the framework? The blueprint we're using in our heads. This belief that we have to cram an entire week's worth of connection into 2 days, that's just a flawed design. It's set up to fail. So let's try something different. Let's reframe it and build a better one.
See, the solution isn't about magically finding more time. It's about redesigning the time we already have. And this new blueprint we're talking about, it's built on 2 really simple but honestly powerful core concepts that can completely change how you experience your weekends. Okay, first up, let's talk about what's called the interface. Just think of it like the software or the lens that you see your time together through. And right now, for a lot of weekend relationships, that interface is, well, it's buggy. It's cluttered with this big flashing error message that just says, hurry up, you don't have enough time.
And that leads us straight to the second idea, which is so empowering. It's the mindset of, I am the architect. This is where you shift from feeling like a victim of your schedule to being the actual designer of your connection. It's about realizing you have the power to rewrite the rules and to build a structure that, actually works.
All right, so the first things first, we have to fix that faulty interface. I mean, if the lens you're looking through is all warped by pressure, nothing else is going to look right. So, the big question is, how do we reset it?
Well, we start by just recognizing something really important. That feeling, that frantic need to perform romance, to have this picture-perfect, jam-packed weekend, that's an external pressure. It's not coming from you. It's a social script we've all learned. It's not a real need. Your relationship doesn't need a deadline. What it needs is just presence. And this brings us to our very first practical tool to fight back against that error message. Instead of just diving headfirst into the weekend chaos, you consciously design something called a landing time. Think of it as a dedicated ritual, a buffer zone for reconnecting with yourselves and each other, with absolutely zero pressure to perform.
And here's a fantastic, super practical example of a 90-minute landing. So look at how simple this is. It's not about big romantic gestures. Step 1, the first 15 minutes, it's purely physical. Unpack your bag, open a window. Just little things to ground your body in the space. Then, for the next half hour, it's a shared ritual. Make some coffee, put on some quiet music. Notice it says, no deep talks needed. It's about sharing a space, not forcing a conversation. And finally, you gently transition into the weekend with something simple together, like making a light meal. See? This isn't about avoiding connection. It's about creating the perfect conditions for real connection to actually happen.
Okay, so once you've reset that interface, once you have that landing time in place, now you're ready to step into that second, really powerful role, becoming the architect of your relationship. And being the architect, it's all about this huge shift in perspective. So on one side, you've got the victim mindset. That sees the 5 days apart as just an empty void that needs to be filled, which creates all this pressure. But the architect? The architect sees those same 5 days as a foundation to build on. A victim thinks, my need for rest is getting in the way of our connection. The architect knows, my need for rest is an absolute requirement for a real connection.
So how exactly does an architect do that? How do you design those 5 days apart to be a foundation? Well, the next tool is called the non-contact connection. And let me be clear, this is not about texting all day long. Not at all. It's about creating these small, authentic little bridges during the week, so you don't have all that catch-up pressure on Friday.
And these little bridges are so simple, it's brilliant. Like on Monday, maybe you share a quick 30-second voice note about something you learned at work. It's just a tiny little window into your world. Wednesday, you could send a photo of something cool you saw, or a screenshot of a song you're listening to. No big text needed. And then on Thursday, you set a really gentle intention for the weekend. And I love this example. I'm looking forward to just sitting quietly next to you. Wow, that just completely deflates all the pressure for some big, amazing weekend before it even starts.
Okay, but a really good architect doesn't just design the main structure, right? They also build in safety features. And this next tool is an absolutely brilliant one for managing that pressure as it happens in real time.
It's simple. You agree on a shared safe word. Here, the suggestion is anchor. That's Dutch for anchor, but honestly can be anything you both decide on. And the way it works is, when one of you starts to feel that old pressure creeping back in, that rush, that stress, that feeling of we should be doing something, you just say, I need an anchor right now. And boom, it's an immediate, totally blame-free signal to just pause, breathe, and get back to that calm, grounded feeling you created during your landing time.
Okay, so this all sounds really good, right? A landing time, these non-contact connections, a safe word, great in theory, but how do you actually bring this up with your partner? How do you introduce this whole new system without it sounding like you're just complaining?
Well, the absolute key is to frame it from that I am the architect mindset. You're not complaining. You are proposing a collaborative design project. You start by owning your own feeling. Hey, I experience a lot of pressure from the time scarcity. And then you propose the solution as a shared goal, and I'd love for us to design a landing time together. See how that works? It makes it about improving the relationship for both of you. It becomes a team project.
And the big takeaway here is that you don't have to do all of this overnight. That's the last thing we want, for this blueprint to become yet another source of pressure. As the architect, you get to choose where you start. So, the question I want to leave you with is, which piece will you build first? Are you going to start with that landing time? Or are you going to try building those gentle bridges during the week? Just making that choice, that's the very first step in taking back control and finally architecting the connection you really want.